What's up, everybody? Mike Wheeler is wondering where we are. We are here now, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
We are ready to talk about books. So, I never really got into reading when I was in high school. I read a little bit when I was in like junior high and all that because I had to because of school. But I never really had a time where I picked out a book and wanted to read it myself. Like I wasn't the kind of person that really went out to the library and like picked out a book and read it. I only really did that for school projects. So Mike was first. Hello. Catherine Wilby. Hello. Thank you for being here. Matt. See, Matt also likes reading. He's
Nice.
also someone who enjoys books.
Good job, Matt.
I have a little bit of a list here. It's a little weird. I have two very different things going on in my to be read categories. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty wild. So I'm going to wait a little bit to get into it so notifications can go out. But I'm excited to talk about this. I've started getting into reading again, and it's more like when I was in high school, I think the only books that I genuinely loved were the ones that I read when I was in junior and senior year. When I was in freshman year, we read The Outsiders. I enjoyed that.
Did you have to read books? Like, did your school require you to
Yes.
read certain books? Okay.
So when we were in certain grades, like we would do projects on books. So we read The Outsiders when I was in 9th grade. Hi, Russ. Welcome. So, yeah, I read like The Outsiders and I read some other books. But when I was in 8th grade, I was introduced to one of my favorite writers. And that is because my teacher said, go out, find your own book if you'd like. And because she had like given a bunch of different options of books we could read. And after looking through all the books, I actually started one of them and I was like, I really don't like this book. It wasn't my style. I couldn't get into it. So I asked her if I could find my own book. And she said, yeah, totally go ahead. This is a private project thing. Not everybody has to read the same book, so you can read whatever book you want. So I headed down to the library. I was looking through all the names, and I saw a name that I had heard before, but never really, I'd never really read any of his stuff. And that book was Joyland by Stephen King. It's a pretty short book. Matt's actually currently reading it. I bought it recently to reread it because I haven't read it since 8th grade, but I let Matt borrow it, so he's currently checking that out. And that's how I got introduced to Stephen King. I loved the book. Like I said, it was pretty short, so it was easy for me to do for the school project. It was like a murder mystery, as most Stephen King books are. And one second. Sorry, I had a thing. So I got introduced to Stephen King, and then I watched a bunch of Stephen King movies, and then I fell in love, and it's been downhill since there. I mean, The Shining's like one of the first biggest movies I watched that was scary. I think the very first scary movie I ever watched was Children of the Corn.
Oh, gosh.
That was the first scary movie I watched as a child. And then I got hooked on horror movies. I've Friday the 13th, all that stuff. I think the only one that I haven't watched was the original Halloween. That's like the only, I haven't watched that one. I've watched the sequels, but I haven't seen the first one. But that's how I kind of got into horror, and now I enjoy reading horror, and I enjoy reading murder mystery and stuff like that. Hi, Karki. Welcome in. So currently, I'm gonna show everyone what I'm currently reading, and then we can get into the list. I'm currently reading The Shining. I'm 200, I'm almost 300 pages in, and I'm really enjoying it. I can now understand why Stephen King hates the movie, because the movie is way different than the book.
I was going to ask that question.
Oh my gosh. You've watched The Shining, yes? No?
I've seen bits and pieces because my husband watches it.
Well, I'm going to tell everyone, Danny in the movie sucks.
Wow.
It's
the kid, right?
The kid. He is not Danny. Book Danny is a million times better than movie Danny. So if you want quality Shining content, just read the book. Hi, Amy. Hi, Anne. Yeah, this book is amazing. I have had my nose in it for a little over a week now. I started reading it about a year ago, but then I got busy with other stuff, and then I really didn't feel like reading during quarantine, which I feel like I should have. Like, I feel like that's something I should have picked up during quarantine, but I didn't. Hi, Garrett. So, this book is amazing. I'm really enjoying it. I very much enjoy what's happening here. Like, in the movie, there's just so much tension between all of them, and in the book, they seem like a normal family, and that's what they're supposed to be. And I'm just really love it, and we're getting so much more depth with the characters. We're getting so much more content and much more context for why the characters are doing what they're doing and all that fun stuff. So I am enjoying this book. A lot of people say King is hard to read. I can understand. I mean, when he writes books that are, I also have it. I have the book. I have not read that yet because I've heard it's a monster to read because it's this big. It's absolutely massive.
Yikes.
And like Mom said, 99.9% of the time, the book is better than the movie.
Yep.
That's why I'm trying to read Harry Potter. I read the first 3 Harry Potter books, and I kind of fell off it. But I got to get back into reading Harry Potter because I've heard the books are amazing.
They are.
I mean, Mom refused to watch the movie where Sirius dies because it was so heartbreaking in the book. And she said it was very anticlimactic in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely.
So this book's amazing. I've been reading it nonstop. Every opportunity I get, I've been reading it because I've kind of just gotten back into reading. Like I said, I've never really enjoyed it until my junior and senior year of high school. And then I read some of my favorite books that I've ever read. Great Gatsby is amazing. Love that book. I mean, and I think the movie was a decent adaptation of the book. I feel the Great Gatsby movie was obviously a little different, but it was a very good adaptation, in my opinion.
Which one have you seen?
The one with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay. See, I haven't seen that one yet. I saw the old one with Robert Redford. So
yeah, the Leonardo DiCaprio one, I think, has a very good and accurate depiction of the book. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect. You're never going to get anything that's genuinely like a perfect adaptation. I mean, even I'm a firm believer that adaptations should actually be shows because you can get so much more information in a TV show than a movie.
Absolutely.
Like, I like the idea of like each chapter's an episode type thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
So enough of my babbling. We can get into our things we want to read this year, not things we already have read. I've just been babbling about my favorite books, so.
I may or may not have cheated and put some books that I want to reread.
No, that's totally fine. Joyland's something that I want to reread. I also, The Book Thief is an amazing book I read in my senior year that I made my mom read because I wanted her to be sad over it. And she was, because that book is so sad. But it's amazing. So I made a tiny little slideshow because I was trying to be fancy, but I also have a lot of books that aren't on the slideshow. But I'm going to let you go first with your first book that you want to read.
Okay, so my first book, I can't talk today, is a book that I have not read yet. It's Mansfield Park by Jane Austen.
I heard Jane Austen's amazing.
Absolutely. I've read so far by her. I read Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, and now I'm in the middle of Northanger Abbey, which is also on my list because I stopped reading it.
Mhm.
I stopped reading it to do book club because I can't do two books at once.
Yeah.
It frazzles my brain. But absolutely amazing author. I mean, it's again a hard read because it's the old English. You
Yeah.
know, it's just the way that they talk back then. It's kind of hard to understand, but it'll expand your mind, I guess I want to say. So it's really good.
Yeah, I've always wanted to. I actually haven't even seen the movie of Pride and Prejudice. I haven't seen anything about Pride and Prejudice, book or movie. So,
yep. And I'll tell you, so the 2005 version of Pride and Prejudice is nothing like. It's somewhat like the book, but the 1995 miniseries version with Colin Firth is 10 times better. Although the cinematic,
yeah,
the cinematography of the 2005 movie is phenomenal. I will say that. I love that.
yeah, and I feel that miniseries do way better a job at adapting because, like I said, the Shining movie with Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, and Danny Lloyd, that movie is so different from the book. The ending is different, like completely. But there is a mini series that was created in the 90s based off of The Shining, which is a lot more accurate that I've heard of. I haven't watched it yet because I want to watch it after I finish reading the book, but I have heard the mini series is a million times more accurate than the movie with Jack Nicholson. So I'm going to share my little thingy. I'm very proud of my little slideshow. So here's my little.
Nice.
So I have 3 books on this slideshow. Well, technically more than 3 books. One of the slides is about a series, but I tried getting some Disney stuff in there because obviously I do a lot of Disney on my channel, but also there's a lot of King. There's a lot of Stephen King in here. So I'm going to show you the one book that I am very itching to read, but I have to wait until I finish my current book. And this book is The Beast Within, A Tale of Beauty's Prince. This is a part of a book series about Disney villains. So technically the Beast is not a villain, but the book series, there's one about Maleficent, there's one about the Evil Queen, there's one about Hook, I think. So this book series I've heard is amazing. It has to do with Disney and stuff. Russ, there are no Star Wars books on my list. They confuse me. The Star Wars books. So The Beast Within, A Tale of Beauty's Prince is by Serena Valentino. It's a prequel to the Beauty and the Beast movie. And it's a story of how he became the Beast and the events that lead up to Belle arriving and the curse being broken. Now, it was released in 2014, and I did a little bit of the description of the book from the book. A cursed prince sits alone in a secluded castle. Few have seen him, but those who claim they have say his hair is wild and nails are sharp like a beast's. But how did this prince, once jovial and beloved by the people, come to be a reclusive and bitter monster? And is it possible that he can ever find true love and break the curse that has been placed upon him? So the book actually starts before he's even turned into the beast, as when he's the prince. So I am very much looking forward to reading that at some point this year because it looks pretty awesome. You know, my massive Beauty and the Beast fan that I am, this just looks amazing. I love prequels.
Nice.
So that is my first book. What do you got next?
All right, so next on my list is actually another Jane Austen book. It's Persuasion. And this one, the movies, there's a couple of movies that came out from it. And I wasn't all that thrilled with them. One I like better than the other, but still, I just know that the book is going to be 10 times better. And so I want to dig my hands into the book and I want to read it. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's really good. It's about, I don't know, lovebirds that fall out because of he goes into the war and she's persuaded to not marry him or get engaged with him because of heartache or something like that, and then he becomes wealthy while in the war, and her family goes into poverty, and they end up reuniting and eventually. I'm not going to spoil it in case anybody else wants to read it. You'll have to find out for yourselves.
That sounds pretty awesome. I really enjoy the romance books. I read, I like the young adult reader books. So I read 5 Feet Apart about a year ago. And I did also read the other John Green, the other book like that, Fault in Our Stars. So I've read those both. And yeah, who knew that Tina likes a love story?
There's nothing wrong with a good love story.
I agree. There's nothing wrong with it. I love myself the love stories too. So next up on my list, let me see if I can get over here. Kingdom Keepers. So Kingdom Keepers is a book series. So that's why I wrote the series. I didn't just write one of the books because I have technically, with my mom, read, I think, the first 2 or 3 books in this series. So the thing is, I have all of these books. I have all of them. All 6 of them. So it is about Disney. It's about the Disney parks. And it follows adventures of 5 teenagers who, by day, they're holographic hosts of the parks. And at night, they fight villains in the parks. So, like, the pirates from Pirates of the Caribbean, they come to life. Scarily enough, the dolls from Small World come to life, that kind of thing. So I'm going to show you this massive stack of books that I have here because I have all of them. All of the books. All I have to do is read them. So each of the books has a different, type of villain thing going on. One of them takes place on a cruise, and I think one of them is in the water parks, but the other ones are... So I have the original cover of the first book, and later on I have a totally different cover, so I don't know why there's a totally different one. Hi, Elena. Aloha. So I remember Mom and I read this when I was a lot younger. We would read it before bed, and it's a really, obviously with us being really big Disney fans, it's pretty interesting for someone who loves Disney. And the thing is, the first book was written in 2005. So the New Fantasyland is not a thing in this book. Multiple things are very different in the parks in the book compared to currently in the parks. The most recent book, I believe, was written in 2014. So you have Disney After Dark, Disney at Dawn, Disney in Shadow, Power Play, Shell Game, Dark Passage, and The Insider. So each of these have really interesting stories with them. I think it's a really good read for someone who loves Disney and loves the parks. Did you yawn in my book stream?
I can't stop yawning, but it's not your fault.
I was yawning in class earlier today. It's fine. I started college again today.
Oh, how was it? Besides the yawning,
Not fun.
especially after you've had more than a month off, or no?
Oh yeah, I've been out of school over a month. Yeah,
I've been going crazy. So it's not you, it's me. I'm exhausted. And
I get it. I know.
And I just got back from working out, so it tired me out even more. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So, the first book I remember the most. The rest of them kind of just blend into each other, and we haven't read all of them, obviously, but I very much want to start reading those again and get back into them because it is very, very interesting. Like, they go into the firehouse. Like, the firehouse is like, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, so Maleficent, I believe, is the villain of the first book. So they use this cutting-edge technology called DHI, which stands for both Disney Host Interactive and Daylight Hologram Imaging. So these kids live in Orlando, and they're like going to school, like they're all teenagers. So they're all going to school in Orlando, and it's pretty interesting. I'm not gonna explain all of it because I think people would enjoy reading it, but yeah, that's my next thing on my list.
Cool. I like it. Yeah, book club. Russ said that Kingdom Keepers would be a good book or series for book club. So
Definitely, yeah.
I think so too. All right, so next on my list is every so many years I like to reread the Harry Potter books. And it's funny because after I did my whole book club series, books versus movies, the Harry Potter series, and then that's obviously distinct now. But it really, comparing and contrasting the books between the movies really made me realize how much more I love the books, and I would rather read the books than watch the movies because. So I probably will revisit that sometime again soon, but I like to do that in the summertime because I love the beginning of the book scenes when it starts off in the summertime, and right before Harry gets the letters, and then all the journeys leading up to, and I love it. Love the way that book 5, The Order of the Phoenix, sets the scene during summertime. And even in the movie, I love it when, Aunt Petunia is like sweating and it's really hot out. I don't know why. I just love that. I love summer and I just love nice weather. And so, and then in the second book, when Harry's with the Weasleys and they're doing so much more in the beginning of that book than what happens in that movie. And you miss all like the intimate wizarding family details, and so I really
I've heard a lot of really great things about the books. Like, there's a lot more to them. Like I said, I've read the first 3, I believe. I've read the first 3 books, and I liked them way more than the movies just because there's just so much more information that you get from it.
Yeah. And even so, if you ever decide to go back and read the rest of the books, I think you would really, really enjoy, especially the last couple of books, because if you're into horror, it gets a lot more darker. Obviously, you've seen the movie, so you've seen, but it's so much more in the book.
Yeah, I've heard it's pretty messed up, especially the stuff with at Malfoy Manor and with Bellatrix and stuff. Like, I've heard it's pretty crazy.
Yep. They really kind of toned it down in the movies. So, but yeah. So yeah, that's the next one on my list.
Nice. So I'm going from two totally different things. I'm going from Disney to, obviously, I'm going to King. So the next book on my list is a little bit more of a morbid book. And that's Misery. I have it.
That's Stephen King.
Yep.
Didn't even know that.
So, if you know the movie with Kathy Bates, I have not watched the movie.
Oh,
So I'm planning on reading the book before I watch the movie. Sounds little crazy. I like the description that I got. Like that made me really want to pick it up because like I said, I love King. I love his writing. I love his imagination. So Mom and I went to Barnes and Noble and picked up a bunch of Stephen King books. I think we got four books of King when we were there. So I'll show those ones after, but I wanted to talk about Misery first because this is the next one I want to read after I finish Shining. So, like I said, it's by Stephen King, and our explanation here is that Paul Sheldon kills off a character of his romance series in favor of expanding his creative horizons, but one of his number one fan, Annie, doesn't like that and basically kidnaps him and tortures him so he can write the book that she wants. Written and released, obviously written before, but released in 1987. Stacey, there are certain parts, like I said, I've been reading Shining. I've found it extremely interesting and extremely awesome so far. There are tiny bits and pieces that do get a little slow, but it's better than the movie, so that's all I'll say. But this looks awesome. I just find all of the little stories that are created to be so out there and interesting. And like I said, I know that the movie has Kathy Bates in it, and everybody loves Kathy Bates. She's an icon. So that's the last thing I have on my little PowerPoint because I was trying to be fancy. But yeah, this book, I'm looking forward to this. It doesn't look too large, I mean, compared to what I'm currently reading. I mean, Joyland is even smaller. Matt said earlier in the stream he's got about 40 pages left of Joyland. Okay. This one has about a little over 400 pages, while Shining has nearly 700. It's about 660 pages. So I'm looking forward to that. Jill, that is awesome. I love, like I said, I love King. I also love the fact that King is such a nerd about Maine. Because almost everything he writes takes place in Maine. Because he lives there. And it's like a lot of his stuff is up there, especially in Derry. I find it very, very interesting. I recently found this out like about a year ago, that all of King's books are in the same universe. They're all connected. There is a reference to The Shining in this book.
Really?
This other book that I got takes place in the same exact town as It. And two of the characters from It show up in this book. Like, it's crazy. Like, I found a really large, I'm gonna see if I can find it. There was a really massive chart that was created that shows the connections between all of the books, or as many as people have found so far. It's massive. the amount of characters that show up in other books and the amount of references that show up in other books. There's also a connection to it in this book.
Nice.
So I'm excited about Misery. I'll talk about the other King books that I got after, but that was the main one that I wanted to talk about. What do you got next?
So next on my list is so Russ, don't even say anything.
I can mute him. I'll mute him if you want me to.
No, it's all right. It's actually the Russ. Obviously, we're still in the middle of reading this Bond book for book club, but I really love it so much. 4 chapters in, 5 chapters. I forgot how many I've read now. 5 chapters in, that I really would like to read the rest of the Bond books. I think that would be. They just. All of them. I don't know. I've seen a lot of the movies, and so far, yeah, just it's really good. That's all I want to say, because I'm rendered speechless. So
I feel like I've been like ranting about my books like crazy.
No, I like that. Get to know a little bit about the book. Sell the book. You do it, girl.
So, the next one, the rest of the ones that I talk about are going to be King, because those are the ones that I'm like most excited about reading, because, you know, I just love his stuff. I actually recently watched this movie, and I'm praying that the book is better because, well, Mom hated the movie. Hi, Dean. Yeah. So, the next one is The Mist. This is actually a novella since it's so short. But if you've ever watched the movie, you'll know how horrible the CGI is, and that the ending sucks in the movie.
Yeah.
Book ending is a little more optimistic than movie ending. If have you ever watched this movie?
I think it's probably a movie that's been on in my house. Because my mother used to like Stephen King, and so they were at one point or another playing in my house. So I wouldn't put it past her. But yeah.
So Matt is gonna end up stealing this one because we both watched the movie for the first time together, and it is a good movie. It's just that the ending is not good. The book ending is different. So I've heard that the book, I've heard it's a very good adaptation, and that almost everything is basically the same. Kenzie Ray said he liked the miniseries that was on Sci-Fi better than the movie. Which movie? Because I've been talking about money movies. Hi, Really Creative Travel. Hi, Blaine. So many people joining us. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this because, like I said, I recently watched the movie for the first time, and I want to see how different it is. And it's so short, the novella. It's a little over 100 pages. Like, it shouldn't. Oh, The Mist. Okay, so there's a Mist miniseries. Like I said, miniseries are always better.
Yeah.
Always better. It was a good movie, but not everything about it was amazing. I've been calling the movie of The Mist pre-Walking Dead, because so many characters, so many actors from the first season of Walking Dead are in this movie.
Really?
Because the director of the movie directed the first season of Walking Dead. So we you watch Walking Dead? Well, if anybody in the chat does, Andrea, Dale, Carol, they make an appearance in the movie. It's pretty interesting.
It's the zombie show, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mom and I love Walking Dead. Matt's coming over tonight to watch it with my mom because they both really like it. I used to really like it. I kind of dropped off of watching it. Ray agreed. Kenzie, is the book about some creatures coming from another dimension military experiment? Yes, that is what I am talking about, The Mist. 90% of the movie takes place in a store. So, I used to play the Mist computer game back in the day. That was fun. Ray watches Walking Dead. Every season became... I don't agree that every season is the same. I think they have gotten a little more creative. I just stopped watching after one of my favorite characters died because he didn't die in the comics, and because I've read the comics. I've read a good portion of the comics, not all of it, but I've read... it got to a point where I knew what was going to happen in the show before it happened because I had read so far into the comic book series. But I think Matt has... because I have the really big, compilation books that have, all the comics, so not, all the tiny ones. So I enjoyed reading it, and I enjoy the show. It's just after my favorite character that died in the show, who didn't die in the comics, I was kind of annoyed, so I kind of stopped watching it. And yeah, Mist is a good movie, just depressing ending. Book ending is a lot more optimistic. I can tell you that. So this won't take very long to read. It's tiny. It's a little novella. Yeah. And guess where it takes place? Maine. It's always in Maine. Green Mile is not the best book he wrote. I have not watched or read Green Mile yet. A part of me wants to read it before I watch it. But hi, William. Russ, I'm going to politely disagree with your opinions about Walking Dead. So Green Mile, I know it's an extremely good movie. I know Tom Hanks is in it. But I do want to watch it after I read the book eventually. I'm trying to get into the habit of reading books before I watch movies because I feel like you get more out of that. Dean says Green Mile was good. Stephen King is a great author, says William. Yes, I agree. Stephen King is awesome. Hi, Dad Builds. What's up? All his books take place in Bangor, Maine. Yeah. So this one, I think it says just Maine. Oh, this is Bridgeton. I know.
Be a suburb.
The Shining is in Colorado. 11/22/63 starts in Derry, Maine, which is where it takes place, and then goes down to Texas. And Misery, I do not know where that takes place, but I'm gonna Colorado. So, my favorite Stephen King book, currently, The Shining. I loved Joyland, but I'm really enjoying The Shining right now, and you're gonna see more King throughout the end of this stream because I have 2 more books from Stephen King. Because, like I said, Mom and I went to Barnes and Noble and just bought a lot of Stephen King. So, what's next up on yours?
Okay, so next on my list is I wish I brought the book in with me because I could have read it to you. It's called Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers, and she is a Christian author. And the book is about this girl who's sold into prostitution at a very young age. And so her relationship with men is obviously very skewed. And along comes this one man who completely changes that all for her. He's a Christian. He treats her how she should be treated, and I'm not going to reveal the rest because I don't want to spoil it. So, yeah.
Okay.
But that's
I read a book about something kind of similar. It has to do with it had to do with a girl and her relationship with men because she was forced into an arranged marriage. 1,000 Splendid Suns. I read that in my senior year of high school. Traumatized me, never want to read it again. It's pretty messed up, but it was a good book. It's just not one that I'm going to ever return to. It's very sad, but
I can understand.
Yeah. So those books are really hard to read Like we've read a lot of those in school,
Mhm.
but it does sound very interesting.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm excited
So
to read it.
another king, because what else would it be? This is actually a compilation of 4 novellas, I believe. So different seasons. There are 4 different stories in here. 2 of them were created into movies, and I don't believe the other 2 were. The Breathing Method, Apt Pupil, The Body, and my favorite, Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption. So 2 of those stories were turned into movies. You'll recognize The Body as Stand By Me. So I bet you didn't know Stand By Me was a Stephen King book.
Nope.
It's about a dead kid. Of course it's by Stephen King.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay, when you put it like that.
Yeah. So The Body was turned into the book. The book The Body was turned into the movie The Stand By Me, which is about 4 boys who go on the railroad tracks trying to find a missing kid. It's an amazing movie. I genuinely loved the movie. One of my favorites from when I was younger. So I'm excited to read the original, the story of it in here. And I'm also very excited about Shawshank Redemption because that is literally one of my favorite movies of all time. I will watch it 1,000 times. I have watched it so many times. I used to watch it on repeat because I just thought it was so amazing. River Phoenix was amazing. Love River Phoenix. And I love his brother Joaquin, obviously. If I read a Stephen King book, I cannot sleep. I read The Shining before I go to bed every night.
Listen, it still traumatizes me. So
I think you should read the book. I think you should read it because it's more heartbreak than it is horror. Stand By Me is the only Stephen King movie I've ever seen, and it was so long ago I don't remember it. Rewatch it. It's so good. So amazing. Yeah. I don't read books either. And so there are other books, and like I said, my whole spiel about how Stephen King books are all connected. One of the characters in Apt Pupil in this little thingy here is someone who he was a client of Andy Dufresne from Shawshank Redemption. So, like, everything's connected. William, the book is amazing. It is better than the movie. I will say that. So, technically, this is multiple stories in one, but I also have, because I believe this is supposed to be multiple of his novellas. I don't know if they're considered novellas or just short stories, but I also have another short story compilation of his in my closet. I cannot reach it right now. It is behind a bunch of stuff, but it's called The Bazaar of Bad Dreams, or Bazaar of Dreams. I can't remember what it is, but it is in my closet. I've had it for years. I've read multiple short stories from it, but it is so large. I haven't been able to finish it. But I have a goal of reading 10 books this year. Hopefully. We'll see what happens. Dean said, have you seen Mosquito Coast by chance? He was amazing there too. Very different Harrison Ford movie. And then Garrett said stuff about the movie. Shining was one I think was dedicated to my grand. That's awesome. The thriller horror genres are my favorite. Me too. I am a big fan. I love them. So I'm excited about this because it has 2 stories that I love. Critics tend not to match what I like. And that is something that I also have very strong opinions about. I don't listen to critics. I don't listen to critics when it comes to movies or books.
Oh.
Because critics' job is to not like things.
Mm-hmm.
They're not looking at it from the point of view of someone who's there to just enjoy a movie. That's why some of my favorite movies are not critically acclaimed, you know?
Mm-hmm. I hear ya.
Dad builds one of my favorite books is Llama Llama Red Pajamas. I like the pictures. Russ says that he is reading Phantom of the Opera right now. There's so much more story to it. I have heard that the book is amazing. So I recently watched Phantom of the Opera for the very first time since I never saw it in person, and the movie version is not very good. But I recently saw a recording of it on stage. It was amazing. I loved it. My friend has wanted me to watch it for years. Stacy says, Kenzie, your goal of 10 books this year. I'm lucky if I've read that many in my life, and Ray could read 10 books in about 3 months. Yeah. I mean, if I finish The Shining before the end of February, I'll be happy. The Mist isn't going to take long at all. I don't think Misery is going to take very long either. It's just the fact of I've also got school going on, so I have to balance that. But if I read a chapter of a book before I go to bed, I'll be happy. I'll eventually get there.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got another one?
I do. I have the Lord of the Rings series. I tried to read these when I was a teenager, and it just went way over my head.
Get my dad talking about that because he's a dork.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be able to read at least one book and say I've read it. And
it's a Hobbit. It's a lot shorter.
Do that too. I don't mind how long they are. It's just the comprehension level and not, you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know. Like those kind of books are kind of hard for me, but I feel like if I can read Pride and Prejudice, I mean, I could probably tackle Lord of the Rings. So I might go back and revisit that. Just bought a couple of the paperback books, but we'll see what happens. They're on my list, and we'll see.
Russ said it takes 3 years to read the Lord of the Rings books.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
And Dad builds tried to get into those. I loved the Hobbit books, could not get into Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Hobbit is a lot easier to get into because it's a lot shorter. But I'll just stick to the movies. I'm going to stick to those. Yeah. I don't think I'd be able to comprehend Lord of the Rings books. As much as I love the movies and as much as I love the lore behind it, I don't think I'd be able to comprehend reading it.
Right. I want to at least try though. That's a goal.
Mm-hmm.
At least
that's kind of like me with Star Wars. Like I'd love to read the Star Wars books, but there's just so much to it.
Yeah. Which is also on my list. I can cross 2 off of my list now.
The other thing that's on my list, I started reading it last year and then I fell off it because I was starting school and I was so stressed about it. But I started reading Twilight because my mom's a really big Twilight fan. She loves the books and she loves the movies. So I started reading the first book and I'm really enjoying it. I have it in my room. I didn't grab it before this, but I'm going to try reading those and then watching the movies because I have watched all of the Twilight movies.
Mm-hmm.
I have not. Yeah, like I said, I started the first book. I'm not going to read Midnight Sun yet for a while, though. Stacey said, if I could have lunch with anyone dead or alive, it's most definitely Tolkien. As someone that is working on creating their own world, I'd love to be able to pick his brain. Yeah, he is a genius, honestly.
Absolutely.
Russ said, if you read the meat of the story and skip all the appendices and background info, you can get through Lord of the Rings books easier.
Good to know.
And then William wants to know what my favorite thriller horror movies are. Oh, Lord. There's so many. I think I was just talking about this the other day. I was talking about Silence of the Lambs because the show Clarice is coming out soon, and it seems pretty interesting. I love that movie. I love Silence of the Lambs. I think that's also one of the very first horror movies I watched. I really enjoyed that. Mainly because I'm a huge like detective nerd too. Stacy says she read all of the Twilight books except Midnight Sun. You should. I've heard Midnight Sun is pretty good, Stacy. Read New Moon in 24 hours. That's crazy.
There are some books that you could seriously do that. Harry Potter's one of them where you just can't put it down.
That's how I was with the first Harry Potter book. I read the entire first Harry Potter book in a day.
Yeah.
That's also because it's pretty short.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty short.
Those end books get so large.
Yeah. Yeah. If I didn't have to pace myself out for book club, I probably would have already read through the James Bond book too, because that's another one that was like I couldn't put it down, but I had to, because I want to be able to be fresh for the book stream to remember.
Yeah,
things.
definitely.
So, yeah.
That's how it was when I was in school, because I wanted to read all of the Book Thief, but I knew I would have to like do quizzes and stuff. So I needed the information to be like fresh in my mind. I'm having an old friend over for dinner. Love Hannibal.
Is the movie very graphic? I've only seen certain parts of it that were more mild.
I wouldn't call it very graphic.
Okay.
I think the only graphic part that I can really think of is at the very end, and it's not even that bad. So I suggest it. I think it's a great movie. It's one of my favorites. I've heard, and I know that they have a Hannibal TV series, and I haven't even gotten into that because I don't really feel like it. But I love myself some Silence of the Lambs.
Nice.
So the last book I'm going to talk about isn't even a book that I want to read because it doesn't really interest me. But we got it for my dad because he's a nerd. 11/22/63, which is about JFK assassination. My dad is a history buff. My dad is a very big nerd about that stuff. So this is about a guy who travels back in time and tries to stop the Kennedy assassination. It's massive. I give my dad a week.
That's it?
Yes, that's it. He's going to finish it in a week.
Oh my gosh.
I can almost guarantee it.
Okay.
He's really big on reading. Like, I said 2 weeks, Mom said 1. So, interesting stuff. But I do know that it starts off in the same exact town as It, Derry, Maine. So.
Okay.
So Russ said, watch the show on Hulu. It was quite interesting, but a little disappointed. Yeah, I do know that it is on Hulu, like it says up there. But like I said, I like reading.
No, James Franco. Not a James Franco fan.
I've seen several documentaries about it. Yeah, my dad really likes those documentary things. So, like, there's a thing on the front that's, like, what it could have been.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Imagine. Could you? Oh. I'm obsessed with the Kennedys. Their story, their history,
Yeah.
their family.
That's crazy.
Absolutely fascinates me to no end. And,
William, all of the books I've talked about today are basically all King.
Yep.
My only thing is that is so much book. And I love a good book. I don't like that big of a book. And the problem is, it is bigger than this. And I want to read that eventually. But I'll probably lose my mind in the process.
Oh, nothing like a book to make you lose your mind.
So yeah, those are all the books that I've got. Do you have one more talk about?
I do. So the last book is actually a book that was introduced to me by Mindy from the Viapre Project.
Nice.
Chatain's Guardian. I can't even say the word right. But I guess it's set over in Scotland, and it's one of those like old, like 1800s or so, or 1700s books. And it's about, let me see if I can read this. I am assigned a guardian to warn you. His name is Ronan, ... Thus begins, his name's Roman, not Ronan. Thus begins Shertain Carell's explanation to his daughter, 10-year-old Shertain Deirdre, as to why her life is about to change dramatically. Carell's small country, Lystra, possesses the only navigable river on the southern coast of the continent. The province that surround Lystra want its river trade and will do anything to gain it, even kill the heir to the throne.
That sounds pretty interesting.
So I like books like that have that kind of you get imagery of different places and stuff. I love that. So that's another book. That's the last book on my list.
Nice.
Because I did mention the Star Wars books when you did, so that would have been one of the ones. I don't know if I'd be able to tackle them. I would have a heck of a lot of questions for Tracy, I'm sure. But it seems like something that I would really like to get into. So.
Yeah, I think you should go for it. Yeah, I'm gonna be dedicating my year basically to King. I'm hoping to get through. I'm not even gonna attempt 11/22/63. That's gonna be too much information for my mind, and I'm really not gonna be able to understand it, I'm assuming. And Russ says that the show was more about Oswald and James Franco's character. I have heard that it does have a lot to do with Lee Harvey Oswald, the book. So
interesting.
I am looking forward to getting back into reading because, you know, when you find something that's actually genuinely interesting, that's when it's fun.
Yeah.
I know there are some people that like they'll just read to read and like they'll love anything that they read. I'm not that kind of person. I'm very particular about what I read. I'm very particular about the content, what it's about. I've tried getting into fantasy books, but I find it to be very difficult to get into books that require a lot of lore. So.
Yeah, I used to hate reading growing up. You'd have to literally force me to get through my summer reading list from school or anything that they would actually assign me. And it wasn't until, I read The Catcher in the Rye when I was in high school, and that was a pretty decent book. I enjoyed that one. But it wasn't until I read Pride and Prejudice that I really found a love for reading. That was about 10 years ago or so. And now I really like reading. I never thought I'd be where I am at this point back in high school. I never would have thought that I would like to read. So, interesting.
And Amy said I can go to Stephen King's hometown. I've never been there, so I might do that someday.
That would be a trip, a vlog and a half, that's for sure.
So what do you got coming up on your channel?
Oh, okay, now I have to remember it all. Tomorrow is book club at 3 p.m. James Bond. Wednesday, I am not going to have my regular show. I traded with Tracy because he has to work on Thursday. So Tracy will be going live at 5 o'clock on Wednesday, and I will be taking his 4 o'clock spot on Thursday.
Nice.
And then Friday at 2 p.m., Kelly from the Mickey Bunch and Chris Dad Builds, we are going to be doing our favorite Bernie memes. And I'm so excited. It's not even funny. I just put the stream up, the thumbnails there and everything. I got so giddy while I was making it.
They're so to me.
Every time I'm like, okay, I'm done with the memes. Kelly said this earlier. Another one pops up and I'm in tears laughing. And she's absolutely right. Because it's the same. I may or may not have made a few of my own from my photos. So you'll have to stay tuned to see about that. So that'll be at 2 o'clock on Friday. What?
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm excited. And then 3 o'clock on Friday is Rob Fuzz's birthday stream, and I will be on with him. And then Friday night at 9 o'clock. Friday is a very busy day. Holy cow! I will be on with Monarch Moments. We will be cooking something. It's gonna be interesting. So that's where I am.
Always cooking something.
Honestly,
I'm making dinner tonight. I'm like cooking tonight. I'm excited.
what are you making?
It's like a 4-cheese pasta, and I'm making my own breadsticks.
I will be right over.
Come on down.
That sounds really good.
So on Friday at 5 o'clock, we'll be doing Friday Family Pizza Night. I have no idea whose channel it is on. But Nerd Talk on Sunday, talking about WandaVision. Hopefully, I'm assuming episode 4 of WandaVision on my channel, 3 o'clock. Very excited about it. I'm really loving WandaVision. Okay, Friday Family Pizza Night's on my channel. So very, very excited about WandaVision. I'm already sad that it's gonna be over like at some point soon.
I know because you're only making 8 episodes, right?
Yeah, so we're gonna be like halfway through by this weekend. So very, very excited about that.
Yeah, I agree.
And then so on Dad's stream, we're gonna be building the Boba Fett Lego head.
Sweet.
William, you gotta check out WandaVision. Go watch it. And then watch the episode on Friday, and then you can chat with us on Sunday about it.
Yeah, I missed this week's episode, but I will catch up. But
It
I really
was.
enjoyed
This
it.
is the best one.
Yeah,
It's
So-
really good.
So the red helicopter.
Yep.
I was downstairs cleaning up my basement, and I found a red helicopter. It was one of JJ's toys, and that's all I could think of was WandaVision. I was
Oh
like,
my gosh,
I need
that's
to know
so
what that red
funny.
helicopter was.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for being here. We had a great time talking about books. I'm trying to get back into reading. I'm really enjoying Stephen King right now. And I know Tina loves reading, so I knew she would be the perfect person to join me today.
Thank you.
So we'll see you guys in the next streams. Bye.